All right, guys, Hereditary, a movie that came out when we had The Ringer.
That's right.
Yeah.
No Roger Ebert. He's sadly a few years gone. Sean Fennessey was...
I was writing about movies. I was
writing about
podcasting
movies.
Yeah.
We had the Big Picture podcast
We did.
at that point.
I had the director of this movie on the show.
Was that episode only like 31 minutes
It was,
long?
yeah, I think it was like 28
I went back
minutes.
and looked at that.
Well, that's what we were still trying to figure out what that pod was. And it was like, is it interviews? It took a while.
It was almost entirely interviews at that point. But that actually plays an interesting role, I think, in what this movie is responsible for and what it represents from that period of time.
Just go cook.
I mean, this is the first...
Put on your apron. We'll just sit here at the counter.
Thank you. I appreciate you setting me up. It's the first A24 movie we've ever done on the show. I think that represents something kind of meaningful and a shift in this. You know, this is one of the last of the first 10 A24 movies that I think sets off like a chain of events in movie culture, as like the big studios are starting to get less powerful and more reliant on franchises, and smaller stuff like this can break through. And
a better ecosystem for the rent-buy ecosystem by the end of the 2010s is starting to come into place.
Yeah, and I think some of the streaming stuff and rental stuff that you were talking about before applies to movies like this, where like we're building, this is kind of a new canon movie. This is one of the major new scary movies of the last 20 years, and a new voice in a feature debut in Ari. And so like when we were starting to do the Big Picture, I was like, those are the people I really wanted to talk to. I either wanted to talk to like the 75-year-old guys or the 32-year-old people
either
who are
Schrader,
making films.
De Palma.
Well, Eastwood was
Ari
probably
Aster.
75 when you started the Big Picture, right?
He was 75 on the day I was born. So he's doing great. He's still going. But yeah, this is a big deal, I think, in recent movie history.
Yeah, it was this, The Witch, It Comes at Night, right?
That was also an A24 movie. I mean,
But we also had the Halloween remake coming this year too.
Remake.
It felt like people had figured out some new 5.0 version of horror movies, and they were either going to be like these A24 type movies or reboots of franchise done actually correctly.
Yeah. Well,
all movies we like.
Blumhouse was doing kind of low budget, exploiting the margins of like, we'll get a baseline of horror fans coming in if we make this movie for like $3, $4, $5 million, and then it makes 20, 30, 40. That's great for us. That's great for the filmmakers.
It's the old sports movie model.
Yeah, but it was like those budgets were pretty low, and I think this marks a explosion of, for lack of a better term, prestige horror.
Yeah.
You know, refined horror, trauma horror, you know, and I think that it's been often copied but never duplicated.
Trauma horror.
Yeah.
I had 6 types of horror movies I was going to run by you guys. Maybe there's more types. First type is the grisly horror movie. That's like Saw.
Oh, yeah.
Rob Zombie's Halloween
Torture
movies,
Torture
right?
porn,
Yeah, grisly. Just,
Yeah.
It's like you need to take a shower.
Grisly porn.
I don't really like those movies, just FYI. I think there's a certain audience for that, and I'm not sure I'm the audience.
I like the ones, like the really fucked up Italian ones from the 70s and 80s. I don't really like the ones from the 2010s as much.
Yeah, something felt just kind of off, like a little sadistic.
Yep.
That's one. Normal scary. So that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, It Follows, Blair Witch, Paranormal Activity. Like those, just traditional. I know that's a horror movie. Popcorn scary. Like I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Scream.
Scream 2.
Right. More targeted at like teenagers.
Teenagers, something, Babysitters in Peril, but it's like, oh, that's that actor from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and we go that direction. So that's 3 versions. And then 3 versions of creepy. Safe creepy.
What's a
What
safe
Lies
creepy?
Beneath.
Oh, yeah.
Every M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Okay.
It's creepy, but it's okay creepy.
Like
it's
a
like I could go on a date.
PG-13 creep.
Yeah, I could watch with my 8th grade daughter creepy.
Right. Like thrillers with a supernatural element.
Yeah, or it's like that movie Trap with Josh Hart.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of creepy, but I could watch this with both my kids. Artsy fartsy creepy. A Sean Fennessey favorite.
Yeah.
Sure. Yes. This one fits the bill. Yeah.
Midsummer is the ultimate of that, where you're just like, what just happened? And was I smart enough to watch that? Strange Darling was like that.
Yes.
Just ends with a 5-minute long shot of a character.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, we're ending it this way? Okay. Guy's going for it.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was good. And then full-fledged creepy, which is The Shining, 7. And I think Hereditary. I know Hereditary is supposed to be artsy-fartsy creepy.
Okay.
I think it's just outright creepy.
But that's more of a subjective decision, the last one. The last one is sort of like if the movie is good enough that it elevates itself into that category, as opposed to like the story type or the style, right?
So this is my question. So I think you understand the categories. If you were making a movie, which category would you want to be in?
Oh, that's a great question.
Because I think creepy is the highest level horror movie.
Like the last one.
Like if you can pull up,
that
like
Shining,
your
Exorcist.
version of The Shining, where it's like, this is a long story, it's a long play. I'm going to pull people into this, and then when something scary happens, it's going to be fucking earned. I know Sean's artsy fartsy creepy.
I think I would probably.
Sean's like Midsummer's awesome.
Yeah, I would love to be in the
is.
last category. If obviously, if you were making a horror movie, you'd want to be making The Shining or The Exorcist.
I feel the same way. If you could get it, if you had to choose only of the first 5,
I probably watch normal creepy the most. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I watch all 5 of those 6.
I do too.
I just don't watch the torture porn.
yeah, I watch all of them. I tend to like all of them. The artsy fartsy thing. Like I don't know if you can try to do that. Like I think a lot of what's happened in the last 10 years is marketing. Like that's kind of what we're reacting to, is like the way that a movie is framed as prestigious as opposed to actually being prestigious. You know, most horror movies are not by their nature. There's nothing really prestigious about Hereditary. It's incredibly fucked up. There's multiple decapitations in this movie.
Yeah.
Let me piggyback off what you're saying, though, because there's something to the way that Hereditary works where if you watch the first 2/3 of the movie, it's not that much different than Ice Storm. It's not that much different than Ordinary People. All right,
I disagree. But go ahead.
Okay.
I like this.
You could do a family drama version of Hereditary that does not have payment, that does not have possession, that does not have cult, anything. And it would still be really sad and a little bit unnerving.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder whether what we're seeing with the artsy fartsy stuff, or however you want to phrase it, but I would go as far to say The Shining. You could say Exorcist.
Would you put Silence in there? Silence of the Lambs?
We disagree about whether that's a horror movie, but I'll give you that
maybe
just for the
that's
sake of conversation.
category.
Is that they are made with the intention of making a drama or making a, like just a tense film that horror emerges out of. Whereas a couple of the other categories he's talking about, Scream, Texas, I guess I would put in there, are horror movies from their conception. Like the idea is within the first 20 minutes, these people are going to be put in this, genre kind of situation.
Mm-hmm. Now,
what were you going to disagree about with there?
I think it's a little overstated how much that Hereditary is a drama. In its very nature, it's a movie about a satanic cult with multiple decapitations. Like it is pure visceral horror. It is frankly much more horrifying than like Insidious movies. Like it has a lot more like hardcore gore and a lot more supernatural elements than a lot of those films. So I think it's kind of marketing. Like I think A24 was very smart to apply a lot of this sensation of like, this is deeper than your typical horror. Now, I could read into it because I think Ari Aster is a really good writer, and I think his writing elevates the story. But that's like the phrase that got used around this movie was elevated horror.
Mm.
I think it's kind of phony. I think none of that really applies. If this became a Blumhouse movie, it might look a little bit different. It might sound a little bit different. But you could see Blumhouse making a movie about a family that becomes consumed by a cult and has terrible violence.
Telephone pole.
It might. So I think I'm a little bit skeptical of like the artsy framework for some of this stuff because Midsommar is the same thing. It's just like, it's a sunshine horror. There's a lot of sunshine horror movies over the years, but it's like the things that happen in that movie, people are like lit on fire. They fall off of cliffs and smash their heads open. Like these are gnarly horror movies.
Midsommar's I watched it once movie for me.
I watched it again after I watched Hereditary last night.
Did you really?
Well, I said the first 45 minutes.
Jets, Mets, Hereditary,
Midsommar? That was
Midsommar?
Jets, Mets related, it feels like. It's like, what's next for me?
Yeah.
Midsommar.
I had a really hard night.
It's a Swedish vacation. It's Sweden, right?
Sweden, yeah.
Yeah, those Swedes. And a lot of the writing about this movie, going back, because this was, they, as you said, they shrewdly marketed it. And one of the things was about the family dynamics of trauma and grief and relationships and movies that got thrown around that allegedly inspired the director, Carrie, The Cook, The Thief, His Wife and Her Lover, The Ice Storm, Ordinary People, Don't Look Now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On Tubi, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tubi.
Donald Sutherland, Julie Christie. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's a horror movie.
Yeah,
I know
movie.
they rooted in this whole family thing, but it's pretty fucked up from the get-go, and you knew something's wrong with the little girl, and it's plus Gabriel Byrne's in it. When is he fucking normal ever? You
That's a good point.
It's
That
like,
is true.
Oh, it's Beverly Hills Cop 4 with, and there's Gabriel
Yeah,
Byrne.
Gabe's
He's the
never keeping it
wisecracking
light.
sheriff.
Gabriel Byrne never shows up, and I'm like, oh, well, this is going to be a laugh.
Like I said,
A
Right?
gentle
grim
drama.
reaper.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being married to that dude?
Do you think that he's
The pizza's
typecast?
late from Postmates. He's just grim look on his face.
But like,
No, I just see him.
He
and
was
he's
married
just-
to
he's
Peak Ellen Barkin, though, wasn't he?
He was. He's just inherently creepy. He was.
where does she? I mean,
Peak Ellen Barkin is about as
Is she at the
peak as it
top of the
gets.
list?
Like,
Yeah.
see you love Ellen Barkin?
Yeah.
see, it's,
Maybe that's why Gabriel Byrne doesn't have a sense of humor. It's because he saw Sea of Love. What the fuck is that? Why's Al Pacino got you against the wall?
Why you keep saying, what are you looking for, Frank?
is angry Gabriel Byrne just angry Bono? I feel like
Basically.
they're really close.
Basically.
Maybe you got to answer for that, Mr. President.
Excuse me, Mr. President. Why has Al Pacino got my wife against the wall?
Should Gabriel Byrne be added to the list of potential
Angry Gabriel Byrne.
We should
Byrne
throw him in the
replaces
Wayne
Wayne
Jenkins
Jenkins.
category. Yeah, he's creepy. You see him and you're like, all right,
That's really good.
this movie's going to get weird. So the director, Aster, he had a 75-page shot list. This was his first major movie. He got hired for some short films and stuff, and just seems like an actual, in a positive way, psychopath when he makes a movie. He sketches everything out. Meticulous.
This is your guy. You know.
Yeah,
it better
this is
than
one of your
anybody.
guys.
Yeah, I've interviewed him for every movie on the show. I think he's a genius. I
And
think
he's not that old, right? What is he, like
he's in his
mid-30s?
mid-30s.
Is he funnier than Gabriel Byrne, you think?
I wouldn't say Ari is a laugh riot in general as a person, but he's super smart. He does do the things that you're describing that I think used in some of the promotion around the movie, which is he tends to say like, here's a movie that you can think about that is a little bit different, but close to the kind of movie I made. But I tend to think that a lot of that is just theatrics and that like his sensibility is fucked up in a very fun and entertaining way. And I do think he also is processing some real shit by making these movies in this way. You could not have come up with Hereditary or Midsummer or Beau is Afraid if you didn't have like a world inside your mind that you're trying to get out. So I think he's technically basically top of the class from his generation. I think there's very few people who can kind of pull off the kind of things that he imagines. But the movies are all pretty funny. Like I'm going to make a case that Hereditary is kind of a comedy.
You're going to make that case?
It's
I saw
so
it on
ridiculous.
Tubi. It was under decapitation comedy. Was the category.
It's so
It's the
laugh
only
your
movie.
head off?
Yeah,
it's
laugh your head off,
so
literally.
absurd. And I don't think it's the kind of movie where you're like, this is a movie about processing grief. Like, it's not. The movie is about how we are fucking hopeless. Like, that no matter what you try to do to get to the bottom of your feelings, go to counseling, go to a seance, have a deep conversation with your child, we're all gonna fucking die. Like, we are cursed. Like, that's the message of the movie. That's super funny to me, that's where he lands on it. Because it's
Jets
not,
fan?
Well, that's part of the reason why I like this movie.
I think the
Hereditary.
Toni
About a Jets
Collette's
fan who passes the Jets down.
The curse, yeah.
Toni Collette's performance has comic elements to it.
For
to me.
sure.
Yeah.
She's really big
Yeah.
in the performance.
Glad you brought her up. She's been in 3 Best Picture films: The Sixth Sense, The Hours, Little Miss Sunshine, plus Hereditary. Not nominated for this movie, and I actually thought she should have been because this movie did well and it was critically acclaimed.
Should we
Olivia Colman won for The Favorite. Lady from Roma nominated. Glenn Close. Lady Gaga, Star is Born. The one that really stood out to me was Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me?
It's a fine performance.
It's fine.
It's
Toni
not.
Collette was amazing in
Yeah.
this. I think she's a really good actress in general, but this and Little Miss Sunshine are the ones that I think jump out to me with her.
Yeah.
She's very good at playing completely frazzled, but yet somehow weirdly confident, but then the frazzle beats the confidence.
There's a
basically.
couple of like award reel moments in this movie where she's giving a speech or something like that, but the things that blow my mind are like, you know, when she wakes Peter up and is like, or not even wakes him up, but is like, I never wanted to be your mother. Like and then puts her hand over her mouth. Like there are moments in this that she's just unbelievable.
That's
she was
tough.
She was nominated for Sixth Sense and has never been nominated since, which is kind of strange because you never walk out of a Toni Collette movie and be like, she wasn't good in that.
I think she's better in this movie than Sixth Sense. She's good in Sixth Sense.
She's got more to do.
It's
she's
almost
got
like
more
a
to do in this
logical
movie.
continuation in some ways, right? Like they feel
Yeah,
like
that's
they're kind of
interesting.
in conversation with each other a little bit.
Well, let's get to the topic of what the hell actually happened in this movie.
So I just wanted to ask before we got into it, will you be referring to Payman as Peter Payman, like Damien Omen?
Peter Payman? Peter Payman. Was that an XTC song?
But you know what I mean? Like, you
Should it be Charlie Payman?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's Payman now. Payman's a different name. He wasn't Payman all along.
There's no Charlie, is what you have to understand.
It was always Payman. It was never Charlie.
Payman was always Charlie.
But Charlie existed.
Well, her corporeal form,
Yes.
but not.
Yeah.
Well,
All
we
right.
should
Well, here's
litigate that.
So I did bullet points. Tell me where it veers off the tracks.
Okay.
The grandmother wanted her son to be the host, but he killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
The daughter, Annie, played by Toni Collette, her son was going to be the next host, but the grandmother was not allowed near the child. Grandmother and the mom reconciled in time for Charlie, the creepy little girl, and she was the wrong host. And I don't know, the 8 Kings of Hell, however this works, the Hell Committee.
Yeah.
Is this like the board of governors in the NBA?
That's right.
They convened and they were like, we got to move that fucking host.
That's right. It's Balmer.
Charlie, wrong host.
Who's your favorite King of Hell? Who are your guys when it comes to the
I think the
Kings
West
of Hell?
Coast King of Hell was the biggest voice in the room. So
Yeah.
we got
He
to
was
move that
powerful.
host from Charlie. Got to move it to the older brother.
Well, that guy was
somehow.
involved with Microsoft at the beginning too. So
So demons pass down.
Uh-huh.
This is part of the theory.
Into Charlie.
It's generational, hereditary.
Yes.
And beheading, I guess, is the way to release the spirit.
that's a good question.
I hadn't gotten that deep into, I hadn't done that much tape watching, but it does seem like that.
I think beheading ties into it to release the spirit of Payman.
So
He needs an empty, exposed neck to pop out of.
I hadn't read that, but that kind of makes sense given the number of decapitations in this movie.
So my wife loves this movie, and it's one of the rare movies that I feel like she understands and can go way deeper than I can. And that was her interpretation.
I
of
like
all
that.
this.
I hadn't ever thought about the beheading, and then because you get into the like how much of Charlie's death is orchestrated by the cult and maybe possibly even Charlie.
But there's beheading breadcrumbs throughout the whole movie, right?
Yeah.
The bird gets beheaded.
Yeah.
She's doing the model house. There's beheaded people in that. At the end, there's beheadings. So
I think you're right. I think you're onto something.
Thanks, Sean. Hereditary demons don't have to just be Payman, I think, is the other theme in this movie, right?
What do you mean?
It could be, I don't know, like we were joking about the Jets, but it could be depression could be passed along.
Yes. I think
Anxiety.
it's a metaphor for
Yes.
that. Yeah.
All kinds of things. So yeah, it's a metaphor of all of these different terrible things that can
It could
happen
be
to somebody.
addiction. It could be whatever.
The problem that I have with this is that, I'm a Mets fan as well. And the Mets did not exist when my dad was born. And he chose them. And then he gave them to me. So he was 9 when they came around. So what is that? Like, what demon is that? Like a new demon?
Yeah, that's like a new demon. That's like a ninth king.
Testaverde
Kings of
demon.
Hell.
The ninth king.
Yeah.
The ninth king was Fred Wilpon.
The Ninth King is Woody Johnson.
The Red Sox hit a dark spot where you were starting to wonder, like, did you want to pass this team to your kids? I remember writing about that in the early 2000s. Like, is this a team you want to pass? Kind of like Hereditary.
Would you pass the Jets to a child?
Yeah, because I feel like none of this stuff, after the Red Sox won and some of the other teams that have with the Cubs winning, I just feel like all these teams, I don't believe in the curses.
This is how I know Bill is Payman.
Because
he got all the championships.
I did.
He got the riches, the wealth.
I was hanging out with a Dodger fan this weekend who asked, have you ever decided the concept of, if we can just win these next 2 rounds, I'll trade you this? And I was like, it sounds like you're making an offer to like a
There's a
dark force,
Dodgers
like
fan who feels that
Satan.
way?
Yeah. I mean, they haven't really won since 88. They won
The COVID year.
They won the COVID year.
That is
It doesn't
still a
count.
World Series.
I know, but it's not like a real World Series.
I don't know.
I got no
fans,
time for Dodger fans complaining about shit.
Yeah.
They're not
honestly.
complaining. It's just like I'd really like a real one.
Also, I don't
Yeah.
really feel like the Dodgers fans put their team under the kind of pressure that like Phillies fans or
Cold
Eagles
weather
fans
cities.
or Jets and
Cold weather. Yeah, it's different.
Lots more to discuss with this movie. We get to the categories, but $10 million budget made.
Wait a minute, was it Mary Hart Was that the Dodger fan you were talking to? That you were hanging out with over the weekend?
Tom Hanks. $10 million budget, $87.8 million it made, almost $100 million bucks. A24's highest grossing film until Everything Everywhere All at Once in 2022.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Indeed.
No Roger Ebert.
Yeah. Do you think you would have liked it?
I can put that in chat GBT while we talk, but Sean, I wanted you to know the audience polled by Cinema Score.
You could also just like speculate. You know Roger Ebert's work very well. You don't have to use AI.
I think this would have been a 3.5 stars for him. I think Siskel would have hated it.
Siskel would have been like,
he would have been like, I walked out when the little girl got beheaded. I left. But I think Raj would have been like, family theme story. I'm in. 3.5.
I agree. He loves characters. He loves strong female performances.
Yeah, Toni Collette was a revelation. I think he would have raved about that.
Gabriel Byrne, laugh riot.
Gabriel Byrne strikes
yet again.
again.
Creepy as hell. So Cinema Score, the audiences gave the film an average grade of D+. It's like one of the least successful Cinema Score movies that actually did well.
This is why we shouldn't listen to Cinema Score. Yeah.
What is Cinema Score?
It's a poll that is conducted when people leave the movie theater.
I know, but
what it is it's not did you like the movie? What grade would you give it? It's what did you think the movie was going to be when you entered the movie based on the marketing that you had seen. And then how did it match up to what you got in the movie? So oftentimes if you have movies that are like promoted as like a laugh riot or an action drama, and then they're slow or they don't quite fulfill your expectations, then they tend to have low scores. I also don't really take any criticism or score-based stuff that seriously around horror. I think it's like a pretty refined category in terms of taste. And
also the people who routinely go see those movies are not paying attention to like whether Roger Ebert would have liked it or not.
Right.
ChatGPT is telling me Ebert appreciated horror films that push boundaries. And he admired horror movies like The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby. Ebert likely would have respected Hereditary for its craftsmanship and psychological complexity, but whether he would have fully embraced its darker, more disturbing aspects is up for debate.
That's what we're going to do. Thanks, ChatGPT.
They're going to fucking replace us in a year.
Certainly sounds like something I would have said on this
Type into ChatGPT, do Gabriel Byrne getting upset that Ellen Barkin is having sex with Al Pacino?
AI can't do that shit.
All right, today's most rewatchable scene is brought to you by Paramount Plus. A mountain of movies awaits on Paramount Plus. That means a mountain of heart-pounding action, blockbusters like Top Gun Maverick, Mission Impossible Fallout, and Gladiator, which is worth a rewatch before Gladiator.
You might want to do that.
Gotta wet your beak.
I think it would be helpful.
A mountain of jump scares with thrillers like Scream 6, Smile, and A Quiet Place Day One, and a mountain of fun for the kiddos with family favorites like If, Paw Patrol, the movie, Dora, The Lost City of Gold. You see that one yet?
Haven't seen it. No.
Do you know what's on
Should daughter
Paramount
like
Plus
Dora?
right now?
What?
The Cook, the Thief, the Wife, and Her Lover.
Interesting.
Really?
Cited
Yeah.
in this episode.
Little Greenway gang.
Discover something new every week on Paramount Plus. So it's always weird when we have a horror movie with rewatchable scenes, but I do think this movie has some rewatchable scenes.
Yeah.
I can give you Annie in the support group when she's like, yeah, so my father, he had DID. He died from starvation, psychotic depression. And then my older brother was schizophrenic, hung himself, suicide note. Blame my mother for putting people inside him. The group's like, whoa, let's take a break. Hey!
I love that scene.
Any more of these or just those two?
I love how that scene starts from an angle that is very far away. And it's the camera's elevated and very, very, very slowly it starts encroaching into Toni Collette's face while she's giving that performance. And you're like, oh, this is a generational nightmare.
Yeah.
It would be amazing though if like the next cut was just somebody being like, this is actually the quitting smoking group.
This is for nut cancer? Yeah.
The party scene.
Classic rewatchable scene there.
I'd love
Super
to
funny,
really
yeah.
dive into this.
Back into the left.
Charlie, one of the worst people you could bring to a high school party? I'm just going to say, Sean, you have younger siblings.
Yeah. My younger siblings are a lot cooler than Charlie. She better hangs than her.
Probably would have put up more of a fight. Like, hey, there's this girl I like. I really don't want to bring Charlie. I just bought this Teutonic pot.
It's a little bit of a strain of credulity there at that point in the movie.
I do like the idea. So like when, you know, when Peter's first in class and they're talking about Heracles and fate, It's like this idea of whether or not like certain things in this story were fated and destined to happen. And like,
I do have a question
like
for
her
you.
eating cake with nuts in it.
So the question that I had for you guys, well, maybe, you know what? I'll save it. I'll save it for the category that makes the most sense.
Could have gotten her some Benadryl, but I think he was pretty stoned. And then
but I'm not sure if that would have worked, and that's related to my question.
maybe not. Driving to the airport, and she leans her head out the window, and telephone pole takes it off.
Mm-hmm.
This telephone pole removes the head.
that was not. I shouldn't laugh.
It's a movie. We can laugh.
Super chill delivery of that fated news. In the theater,
Yeah. I'm really glad you brought this up.
astoundingly startling. Like truly, like what the fuck, man?
Yeah,
like so effective.
I also got to say that this has become an obsession of mine. Is like contemporary trailers giving away too much of movies. The Charlie death is not in the trailer.
No,
you think
she's
the
key
movie's
character.
about Charlie?
Yeah, you think that the whole thing is her grieving her mother's death.
It's an amazing what the fuck just happened.
Yeah.
I agree. In the theater, it's 4, 5, 6 times later after you watch this movie, it just does them the same impact.
Yeah.
But it's awesome.
Have I told you my story about going to see this movie? I must have when it happened because it was very memorable.
What happened?
So I saw this movie at South by Southwest, and it had played previously at Sundance, and there was a lot of buzz about it. And I was like, "Ooh, a fancy new horror movie, so exciting!" So I went to a midnight screening.
Oh my God,
yeah.
I was staying with you at this time.
We went together, but you didn't come to the movie with me.
I didn't.
And so I went to a midnight screening, and it was at the Lamar Alamo Draft House, which is farther out of town.
Yeah.
So you have to like drive 20 minutes to get out to that movie theater relative to where we were staying. So I went to the midnight screening, which was pretty crowded. And when we watched the movie and we were like, this is very fucked up. And it was 2:30 in the morning when we got outside. Very traumatizing. Called an Uber, get in an Uber. I'm driving for about 5 minutes, and then we get viciously rear-ended. Very intense car accident in the Uber. And so we pulled over on the side of an empty highway and waited for the cops to come. At 3:00 in the morning, after just watching Hereditary, me, Uber driver who barely spoke English, and the guy who hit us, who I think might have been drunk.
Wow.
I was fucking terrified.
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
is this payment come to get me? So I will never forget seeing that movie for the rest of my life.
And I remember he got back to
Damn.
the Airbnb we were staying in, and you were like, I think I got up to go to the bathroom or something, and you had just gotten in. And I was like,
yeah, it was like
Yo,
4:00 in the morning.
how's it going? And you were like, not good.
I wasn't doing well.
That just sounds like a horrible day.
Yeah.
It was really rough.
Yeah, that's rough. Shocking. That very few movies kill off the character you didn't expect to get killed off in the first like 40% of the movie and actually have a pull off in this day.
Here's the other thing about it is I forgot about this, is that Peter just shuts down and drives home and leaves the body.
Well, I had some thoughts about that. Peter's post-accident plan.
Yeah, Peter Payman.
Tough spot for the mom the next day.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that headless body looks like my daughter. There's blood everywhere. Wait, I recognize that shirt. I mean, that's got to be the number one worst thing you could walk into. And the screaming kind of fits.
Yeah, because they don't show it.
It holds on Peter's face
as
when you
he's in
hear the
bed.
screaming,
Yeah.
which is a great choice.
My wife defended him. She's like, he's in shock.
Yeah, well, I don't know if
It sounds like your wife should be on this pod.
She loves this. Her and my son love this movie.
It speaks very highly of your wife that she's so into this movie.
Well, what about my son? Well, he likes all horror movies. They love this
Well,
movie.
you've conditioned
Yeah,
him.
also-
You've trained
This
him.
one, I'm like, they watched it like 2 months ago. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
You guys are watching Hereditary again? You think it's like there's something about Mary. Like, pop on Hereditary.
Do you think you have a family of 4 with a boy and a girl? Like, do you guys relate to something about the film? Is there something?
Is my son Payman?
I will say, though, well, we'll get to this part or this scene.
Yeah.
But the last 40 minutes of this movie are, if this is the last 40 minutes, I'm stopping to watch the end of this for this movie.
Oh,
yeah.
if you flip to it.
Yeah, if you flip to
if
it.
it's on TV.
Yeah.
Forgot to mention the head with the ants. That's tough.
Did you clock it all the first time you saw it? Charlie cutting the head off the bird and then she gets her head cut off.
Yeah. They also drive past the lamppost very purposely.
Yeah, I noticed that probably the third time I saw this movie that there's designs on the
On the
telephone
miniatures.
pole
Yeah.
Oh yeah, on the
that
telephone pole.
matches like her necklace
Yeah.
and some other stuff.
There's
Andy-
a lot of like things that look like they're pointing in a neon red sign when you go back and watch the movie for where it's all headed.
Yeah.
But when you're watching it, you have no idea really what's going.
Annie's second meeting with Joan, Holy Cross grad and Dowd. Yeah. Yeah, CR.
Interesting.
HC in the house.
She brought a lot of that Jesuit training to this film. I think. Yeah.
That's amazing. Is she
a few years ahead of me?
the second most famous HC alum?
No, I mean, we had Clarence Thomas, Bob Cousy.
Yeah. Number one is Joe House.
Joe House probably first.
Blue Boy? Where's Blue Boy?
He's in the top 30.
Okay.
Annie's second model with Joan, right into Annie doing the car crash model where we get the paint thinner story.
Yeah.
Peter always held it against me. I would fucking hope so. I mean, when you were sleepwalking and poured paint thinner over him and his sister and you were holding matches? Yeah. I wonder if... And then...
tough one.
I like when she's defending the car crash model to her husband, creepy Gabriel Byrne.
Oh my God.
It's a neutral view of the accident. Sean's right. This movie is kind of funny, deep down.
So funny. That's hilarious. Her daughter got decapitated in a car accident, and 3 days later, she was like, I'm going to make art out of this.
Yeah.
But she's processing her grief.
Yes, for sure.
Got the
It helps a lot.
down. Honey, is the head too far away from the telephone pole? Would you move it back or closer? The dinner scene, which reminds me of the SNL dysfunctional family sketch with Will Ferrell and
I drive a Dodge Stratus.
I drive a Dodge Stratus. Yeah. You don't talk to me like that. This is that version of that.
All I do is worry and slave and defend you, and all I get back is that fucking face on your face.
Don't you swear at me, you little shit. The family seance. Just when has this ever gone well in a movie? Is there a time? Can somebody point me to the
Steve
time?
Steve doesn't want to do it. He's like, this is crazy.
Seance, just no.
Yeah.
No on the seance.
Especially after the person who's convinced you to do the seance is like, your whole family has to be there. And like, here's the language that I don't know what it is. And you have to read these words. It's like, hey,
that's crazy.
This isn't ideal. Don't pursue
when
this.
we were worried our house was haunted before we found out that it was, people wanted to have
before an official Ghostbuster.
Before weird
before
shit.
Patrick
officially.
Wilson came over and confirmed it.
Things are going great with the ghosts, but
that's because he's like, you guys keep watching Hereditary. And you're my people.
I finally found my soulmates. We had somebody suggest a seance, and I was like, "There's no fucking way."
No.
Like
in
horror
earnest,
movies too
they
much.
suggested that. Like, was there somebody like in Hollywood that could provide?
Friend of my
service?
wife.
Okay,
it's like, it's just seance, get it all out. I was like, definitely not.
Where are you at on Ouija boards?
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
0% chance.
You're in every night.
I've never done it. I've never done
Not
it.
in your own house.
Yeah, I've never done a Ouija board. I don't think.
Wow, what's that about? You love board games.
Who wins Ouija besides Satan?
I mean, Satan. Yeah,
like.
It's just, I just don't understand. The demons have to just be laughing when people are like, "Yeah, let's break out a Ouija board." They're like, really? Look at these fucking idiots. All right. You want to play Ouija? You want this?
You love demons.
Yeah.
Gosh, you just love a demon.
But he treats it like the demons are at like the high roller suite in Atlantic City.
Oh, they
They're
are.
like, oh, look at these whales.
Yeah, seriously. Like, oh my God. There's no need to be scared.
Like the
it's your
Chesterfield
sister.
North over here.
Annie figuring out the albums and books is a rewatchable. Peter freaking out in the classroom, leading to Annie showing her husband the attic. I have two more. I wrote down, Gabriel Byrne is on fire. And then Peter escapes to the attic. What's your most rewatchable scene, CR?
All right, so it's broadly speaking the last 40 minutes, but I think it's from Steve burning to death.
Yeah.
On, more or less.
It's Peter wakes up, goes downstairs,
charred dad,
discovers charred dad, mom's on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And before that, when he's in the bedroom, you see
tough morning.
You see indications.
He hadn't even had coffee yet.
That part is so scary. So scary when you don't really fully understand what's happening.
Yeah, because it's like she takes on Payman once Steve goes up in flames.
Yes.
Then she has to cut her head off to give Payman to the dead body of Peter.
Well, she had good piano wire, though. She'd gone to Home Depot.
I have a lot of questions.
Like strong piano wire.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you guys this. If I woke up the next morning and my charred father was in front of the fireplace, I would still make coffee because I can't really start the day without coffee.
I tell you what, that's a great game show idea.
Which
is what would cause you to not make coffee?
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, I mean, he is dead.
What if it was a notification on your phone that said Peyton Pritchard scored 101 points in the game against the Knicks? Would you immediately go to last night's highlights?
You guys know I stopped for coffee when my wife was in labor. You know that story.
You've told that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
was it a good choice?
I didn't know she was actually. I thought it was another false labor.
Alarm.
So I was like, can we just stop at the Starbucks?
What'd she say?
And then we
about
got there and like, she's 4 centimeters dilated. She's still mad about it.
You're like, I got this
We're
latte.
justified.
Yeah.
First child or second child?
First child.
Okay. Well, you didn't know.
I didn't know. What do you have for most rewatchable?
I think it's same thing. Like Steve goes up in flames, and then as soon as you see her like moving around in his room the first time, it in like shadow.
Yeah.
I was locked in, but also like this.
You guys are both wrong.
Okay.
It's the telephone pole beheading Charlie. That scene's amazing.
So you rewatch it all the time?
I'm just saying that's the most. If that scene's coming up, I'm like, all right.
You really should do like an old school Madden Telestrator breakdown of that scene. I would pay money.
Somebody put the deer in the middle of the road and boom.
I might have something a little later for you guys.
Yeah.
What's aged the best? The real estate, the house is great in this movie.
Utah.
Beautiful.
Park City, baby.
Really good. I like the
Beautiful.
little creepy tree house. I like the driveway. It's just the perfect scary house.
I think one reason why I really like this movie is that in my life, before my life is over, I want to live in a house like that. I want to live in like a secluded mountain town house.
With the little history, dark
Little-
wood inside.
no, little history.
But I worry that if I do that,
Yeah.
I will be dooming myself.
If you do that, no matter what the state of our relationship is, I want you to know that I'm going to paint a giant triangle on the floor. Before you move in.
Chris, are you wearing a payment necklace?
Andy's work area is good too. I like that whole thing. Another what's aged the best. Bugs, ants, or flies as a horror movie device.
Hate him.
I just told him this. This is the one thing I can't
Always super. It's like, oh no, there's some bugs.
I prefer, if I have to have one or the other, bugs I can handle better than mice in my life.
How about flies? Like lots of flies.
But flies as like a death harbinger is really freaks me out.
The
Like
ants and the
Amityville
flies
Horror
together.
did it really well.
Yeah.
They didn't do any spiders in this movie. To me, that's the final breaking point.
I have more, but what do you have for what's aged the best?
We kind of touched on this a little bit, but rewatching this movie when you know what's going to happen. So like this time around, for instance, it was like Annie noticing extra people at the funeral because that's the cult, right? Charlie and Annie talking about Annie's mom feeding Charlie and wanting her to be a boy. You're like, oh, right, because she wanted you to be payment. The bird, Charlie and Peter driving past the lamppost, all the stuff on the postcard where it's like, forgive me, for everything I couldn't tell you, but we're going to inherit, whatever.
Yeah.
So all the stuff that you pick up over and over again, like Sixth Sense, it has like durable rewatchability because all these little signals are in there.
I think way better executed than Sixth Sense. Like when I watch Sixth Sense now, I'm like, all right,
Well,
I
Sixth
get
Sense
it.
is
Bruce
like
Willis is
one
alive.
trick, right?
Yeah. This is laying a lot more.
I think you're
groundwork.
underestimating the Sixth Sense a little bit. I mean, I think there's like staging of scary sequences in that movie that are exceptional, and upon revisiting them, you like them. But it is a movie that is hinged entirely on the twist. I don't think this movie is hinged entirely on the reveal, and it is chock full of like Easter eggs, for lack of a better phrase. I think it's also like I said, this kicked off a wave not just of this kinds of horror movies, but like. In 5 years, A24 does Spring Breakers, Ex Machina, Room, The Witch, The Lobster, Moonlight Best Picture, Florida Project, Lady Bird, Good Time, capped off by Hereditary, which is their biggest movie
And
of
that's
all time.
pretty much a generation of filmmakers.
And that is, they discovered a bunch of people who their first or second films, bunch of like award nominations, and movies that like people have a big relationship to from the last 15 years.
Did I ever tell you my theory about The Lobster?
Fire away.
It sucked. So my next what's aged the best
Not a theory.
is what's aged the best. The horror movie score in this movie, whatever they're doing. Like, it's not like something you would play on Spotify or something, but there's just sounds and creaks, and it's a little Shining-esque. Where Shining they're making weird noises, and you're like, I don't like that noise. That's weird. What's going on there? But I think they do a good job. Horror movies where someone hurts themselves is a good device. When Charlie started, when Peter starts slamming his head against the desk, that always creeps me out.
What's Age the Worst? Because it's actually been ripped off a bunch. Because they do it in Talk to Me, they do it in Long Legs pretty much. They kind of do it in Smile. where like I feel like the hitting your face thing.
Yeah, but that's
suddenly out of nowhere has become.
But this movie was ahead of that.
I'm saying you're right.
Yeah.
It can be best and worst, because I think it's been it's
interesting.
been ripped off.
Good point. It is now like a trope.
You like long legs? Did you like that movie, Chris?
Did you?
No, I didn't. Good try, noble effort. I didn't like it though. Can we get long legs together with no?
I feel like
now, would you like to order?
We should add long legs to the
to
Tony
Tony
Romo and Jim Nance.
And long legs.
And long legs.
Okay, I'll work on that.
I also really like the.
I did not expect you to break out of long legs.
Yeah, sorry, I should have warned you.
So they built the interiors on sets, on sound stages, but it's very kind of like almost breaking the fourth wall at certain points of like the fakeness of the sets.
Well, there's that amazing first shot
with
the slow push in, and you're moving into the miniature, and then all of a sudden you're in the room.
I had that for a Great Shot Gordo.
Yeah,
it's got to be Great Shot Gordo for this.
I actually had Steve on fire for Gordo.
Oh,
but
Steve is on fire!
Bang!
Wow, now Mike Breen is a part of it.
Steve throws the book in the fireplace. Bang!
Oh,
that's like a double bang.
Bang!
Bang! Oh man!
Oh my fucking god! Anyway, yeah, that was cool.
What's age the best? Ann Dowd. Hereditary, The Leftovers, and The Handmaid's Tale, aka the Dark Big Three.
Yeah, the Doom Queen.
What else could she be in that's more depressing than those three? Those are all high lottery picks.
You should, next time you do a Holy Cross alum Zoom.
Holy Cross. She probably lived in Milady.
Yeah.
Inside joke for the Holy Cross people.
You don't want to break
like
it down.
I lived in Milady. That's like the furthest building away from where all the fun stuff was.
That's where they put all the payment heads.
That's like if you were a serial killer, you're probably in Milady. What's age the best? The Halloween classroom homage.
Yeah.
In the beginning. There, they even shoot it where the window is to the left. And I like that. Ari Aster.
It's got some
pay
moves.
Homage to the King, John Carpenter.
Yeah. It's got some moves.
The Fortune 3 Clap Award for most gifable moment. Is it too sick to think it's Charlie putting her head out the window?
I think that's probably the one.
Right? Okay.
If you wanted to do like images immediately preceding a disaster, you know, those Twitter accounts, like that's the one.
I was hoping that you would do Tony doing the piano wire thing.
Pretty grisly.
After the last strikeout.
Yeah, that you might get your account deactivated.
Hit me as Aaron Rodgers throws into traffic.
Or it would be given medals on X. Denethys Benihana Award, The House, for the Scene Stealing location. Great house, right?
Yeah.
No doubt.
Kid Cudi Pursuit of Happiness Award, Best Needle Drop. Joni Mitchell, right in the closing credits.
It's the Judy Collins version.
Oh, it is?
It is.
I will say Colin Stetson, who did the music, the double track of Reborn / Hail Payman. Some really great tunes there.
You just run that while working out.
Hail Payman. What'd you have for the Big Kahuna Burger Award for best use of food and drink?
Chocolate bars.
Okay, I like it.
What about the what Charlie eats? You know, the walnut cake.
Yeah, well, the cake.
The
just
cake.
Charlie's sweet tooth in general.
The cake, yeah, that's good. Butch's Girlfriend Award, weak link of the film. I'll go last unless you guys don't have one here.
I just think that Peter's friends could have had a little bit more definition.
It's a good one.
Like when he's like
back
panic
in school,
attacking.
nobody's like, "Hey man, you okay?"
Yeah, nobody's ever just like, "So what happened this weekend? You left in a hurry."
Heard your sister died. Like they don't even acknowledge it.
They're pretty rude. I feel like particularly his like potential girlfriend, like we could have had some more.
Oh yeah,
some more excitement there. And it's like,
is that your weak link?
Yeah, I mean everybody else in the movie is great.
This is barely a weak link, and it's not the movie's fault. This movie was hard to understand as you're watching it the first time.
Yeah.
The first time you're
you
just
go
like,
with it.
What the fuck just happened? Yeah, it's one of those you go with it, but you really need to see it a second or third time to put the pieces together. You watch it more from the eyes of like, whoa, oh my God, oh. but then the story part of it's a little harder to follow.
Yeah, I think I remember
not the movie's fault.
I remember very vividly getting the demon is in Peter at the end. Peter is now, he is the product of the cult. But all of the choices that are being made or all the stuff that he's planting in the movie, it's hard to process those things the first time you watch it.
What's aged the worst? So Charlie's clacking noise, that great movie device, but my wife does it to fuck with me and I don't like it. Yeah, she does it sometimes.
That is messed up.
Will she do it from another room or she do it in front of you?
When they watch it and then she'll be like, we watch Hereditary, and then she'll start doing it. She might be one of the 8 Kings of Hell. I'm still unclear. We'll find out at some point. Maybe that's why I'm in the house I'm in.
Do you think that explains all the success in your career?
Oh, right. That's it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the price coming at the end. That noise though.
It's messed up. There's a couple of them in the movie that are really, really jarring. The one in the classroom with Peter in particular, when it's like almost like a close up on the side of his head and you hear it, is upsetting.
Peter's really going for it in this movie in a couple spots.
You mean the actor or
the actor?
Alex Wolff?
Yeah.
I think he's appropriately in a fugue state of grief and PTSD from everything that's happened to him.
I think he's a good actor and gives a good performance. I was bummed out to learn that he went fully method during the production of this movie.
Should we do that now? Yeah, have like, some of this stuff.
Everybody call me Peter.
And he like introduced himself as Alex on the last day of shooting. I get it.
The guy who's not like a thing telling the whole crew to call him by the character's name is just douchebag 101. It just is.
I agree. But
it's just lame.
I'm willing to give Daniel Day-Lewis a pass.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
It should really be like 4 people on the planet who can get away with that.
After we saw Gladiator 2 on Friday, CR and I went to a bar, and the bar had like 25 TVs, and all the TVs were showing sports, and then there was one TV right in the middle of the bar, and it was tuned to TCM, and Lincoln was on.
Yeah.
And first of all, Chris and I were
riveted.
We were locked in on Lincoln, and he turned to me in all sincerity. We had stopped talking. It was just the two of us watching Lincoln together, and
just drinking a Budweiser.
And he goes, dead serious, this is a rewatchable.
Lincoln
is definitely a rewatchable.
All right, I'll check it out. I don't know if I agree.
Janusz is cooking.
Is cooking in that movie. Toni Collette, talking about Alex Wolff playing her son. Alex ... just turned himself inside out. He wasn't particularly collaborative or enjoyable, I would say, for anybody else, except for perhaps him in some weird fashion. But he's young; he'll figure it out. You know what? He did a great job. So who cares?
If you read between the lines,
it's like Alex is a fucking
this
asshole.
Guy sucks. Yeah.
I was watching Jeff Chow, who we work with, sent me a video last night of some guy from NME asked Jeremy Strong like what his favorite albums are. And he fucking no-sold it so hard and just like took it so seriously and was just like, Astral Weeks. And he was like, oh yeah, when did you first hear that? He's like, who can tell? It's one of those albums that just seems to emerge and be with you your whole life.
Do we need to add Jeremy Strong to the Wayne Jenkins category?
Dead-eyed Jeremy Strong.
Jeremy Strong killing the vibe.
Jeremy Strong as Peter would have been an interesting choice. He's too old now, but younger Jeremy Strong, that would have been fun.
I gotta say, Alex Wolff has been very good in some good movies.
Yeah.
So I don't want to like dump all over his career, but that story, when I read that, I was like, this is not cool. This sounds awful.
Any other What's Aged the Worst?
I had the smashing your face thing because it's become such a trend in horror movies.
It is getting ripped off.
I think elevated horror is not aged well. I think if you try to put those brackets around a movie, it's like, oh, you got to stick up your ass and you think you're better than me.
Yeah, this is basically like a really boring 2-hour movie with a jump scare in the very end.
Exactly.
You think you're better than me, horror?
Yeah.
Oh, you're there with your ghost story. You think you're better than me?
Yeah.
You gonna scare me, motherfucker?
You should do Sully reviews. Where it's just like you come out of a movie.
Casey Affleck in a sheet in this thing.
The Ruffalo Hannah Rubinek Partridge overacting award. Not to keep picking on Alex Wolff, but why did you try to kill me?
Oh, I think Toni gets this. Toni is like worthy of almost adding to the category title.
Oh, you think she went Julianne Moore, Magnolia level?
Yeah, Don't Call Me Lady.
She is Linda Partridging. Yeah, for sure.
I think she's so good in this movie. Do you feel like it's overacting though?
I just think she goes really big, you
Yeah.
know?
Okay. Was there a better title for this movie? The Telephone Pole or Charlie's Head?
I think Charlie's Head would have been giving something
Charlie
away.
said, yeah.
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 Hereditary's good. I like it. Can you dig it a word for most memorable quote? I never wanted to be your mother.
Yeah. And
That's
then
a
the hand
really
over
good
the
pick.
mouth.
Tough one. All right. The CR thinks Luke Wilson could have been Harrison Ford. How does take a word? What do you got, CR?
If Payman calls, you have the meeting, right? Like why was it such a bad idea? Because I feel like ultimately what they're looking for from Payman is like wealth, insight.
Like 5 firsts, couple pick swaps.
Yeah, so like rather than get everybody in the family decapitated, maybe you just get your smartest guys in a room and talk it out.
Yeah.
Payman is he's pretty relentless.
Yeah. He's gonna get
Mhm.
it's like having a clutch player want a trade. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's just about how much pain comes along with it.
I have a somewhat related hottest take,
Okay.
which is that I think the cultists are onto something, but only with regard to not wearing clothes. That like everyone is just like, if I've got payment, I don't need clothes. There's no such thing as shame or embarrassment.
Right.
I can
Right.
be my own true self all the time. Like naked cultist in your attic. That's about as awful
It's
as
as
it gets.
scary as it is. It could possibly be.
But just from like a process
I'd still
perspective,
go
I
with
get
like
it.
beavers.
What about him?
I don't know. Just some animals that could.
Oh, that would have been
Oh.
scarier.
rabid skunks.
Yeah.
Then someone in
The
control of a
naked
demon.
cultists. No, I wasn't that scared of the naked people.
I think naked
I don't
people
think naked
smiling
people are
is,
that threatening.
is pretty crazy. Like that shot of the trio of them up in the attic smiling that happens very quickly.
Yeah,
at the
that
end.
is true.
That's
That was
fucking
pretty
scary.
creepy. Skunks are pretty bad though.
We're talking about demons here.
Here's my hottest take. This is my best one in a while. Making a horror movie about hell, not hard. Blank slate. Just get to make up anything.
Oh, like if
Okay.
it's about
It's like
demons or
it's
anything.
about hell, and it's like you just from there you just get to cook. It's blank slate. It's like, oh well, the 8 kings in hell and pay him in. And there's a host body.
I think he did
Cut your head off and blow.
he did the work though. I mean, the grimoires have
he did it.
Payman in there.
He did a great
you know?
job. My point is, nobody knows what hell is like, so you can basically do anything.
I see. Yeah.
You could be like, yeah, hell is the third quarter of a Carolina Panthers game when they're 1-15, and that's the gateway to hell right there. This third interception is when we go to hell. Like you can say anything because nobody knows what hell is.
Have you seen the new Smile?
No, but I'm excited for it. I liked the first Smile. I thought it was pretty good.
The new Smile opens up a lot of potential for setting a smile in the world of sports.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much.
like Russell Wilson.
Well, it's like what happens when a big crowd could be exposed to.
Oh,
Yeah.
Russell Wilson or Smile?
I mean, Russell Wilson just kicked my team's ass,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna. I mean, maybe he is possessed by some sort of demon.
He might be possessed by AI.
I saw that take. Yeah, he needs to be deprogrammed.
Do you think he asks ChatGPT what Roger Ebert would say to Melissa George?
Casting what ifs, we don't have any because this movie just came out. So we need 15 to 20 more years to have stuff like Tom Cruise almost played Gabriel Byrne's
It
part.
sounds like they got Toni Collette very early.
Yeah.
He
Gabriel Byrne pretty
kinda-
early.
He kind of made it sound like he wrote it for Toni Collette.
And then they got Millie Shapiro pretty early.
Who
This is her first
apparently
thing.
was this accomplished musical. She won a Tony for
Yeah.
a musical at age 10.
She
Matilda
brings
the
a
musical.
perfect vibe to this
Yeah,
movie.
she's
She's
good.
really good.
Who do you have for best that guy? It's not a huge cast in this movie.
Kathleen Chalfant, who plays the grandmother, plays Lee.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Deion Waiters Award and Dowd.
yeah.
100%.
Holy Cross in the house. Yeah, I wonder if she went to Joe D's
Was there a
or
Holy
McGuire's.
Cross basketball player who mimicked Deion Waiters' game?
When I was there? Not really.
Okay.
We weren't good enough. Recasting couch director City. Back to Peter. Where's Lucas Hedges in this? Where's my guy?
He was
That would have been. Can you imagine him doing Manchester by the Sea in
Just
this?
following that up with Hereditary. Like just, and then he could be sold in the bundle on Fandango.
Yeah.
It's like the Lucas Hedges
Yeah.
dark movie 2-pack.
Lucas Hedges Valentine's Day special.
Mhm. And he'd be coming off Lady Bird. He was the Prince of A24 at this time,
Yeah.
too.
Maybe he was busy. Tony Romo, Chris Collinsworth, or somebody else for director's commentary, CR.
DB doing Hereditary. I see you, Miss Joni. For decades, you've been preparing the path for King Payman, and now he's finally here. You've gotten rid of Charlie and destroyed the Graham family so that Payman can take his preferred male form. And now it's time. Look to the northwest, Miss Joni. Hell is coming. We see you, ma'am.
I thought for sure you were going to have her address Payman. No?
And then otherwise you could do Collinsworth. Oh, Mike, see, this is why you don't stick your head out the window when you're going down the highway. That's rookie stuff.
I have a new entry for this.
Okay.
Because watching WNBA Finals, our guy Ryan Rucco. Here comes the telephone pole! Got it!
The telephone pole decapitation as a three-pointer is some of the best shit that's ever come out of this show. Breen going bang for every decapitation.
Charlie needs the EpiPen. Bang!
Got it! Half-assed research. Apparently,
wait. Chris and I have been working on the Coward thing a little bit.
Oh,
where I feel like Coward the day after, where he's like, the thing is with Payman. Payman does not mess around. You know that Payman has a handle on the salary cap. You know that Payman is the master of his game. Payman is not the 8th king of hell. He's the 1st king of hell.
And then he just stares at the camera after. Cut to J-Mac nodding.
Good point, Colin.
Great points, Colin. So they showed Hereditary in Australia accidentally to a movie theater full of families that had 40 children in it, and it was mistakenly shown.
It was the trailer or is the whole movie?
The whole movie, and it went badly. There's an article bet you can find. So apparently Aster and an unnamed financier fought about the final cut of the picture, and he had to protect it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff on the internet about this.
Seems like he was proven right.
I'm writing detailed biographies and backstories of every character in the movie guy.
Yeah.
I like those guys. Just like, honey, what are you doing? I'm going to go to the coffee shop and
just write down what
and
Steve
write
was
Steve's
up to.
backstory.
Yeah.
What did Steve do out of college?
What was he, a therapist?
He's a therapist,
yeah.
which is hilarious.
Yes.
He would have gotten my Vincent Chase if we had done that category.
Oh, that's good. We
If
should
you're a
have done that
therapist and
category.
you're living with Annie and you're not like, we got to...
Annie, let's take an hour here.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like he had some good instincts once upon a time because we know he put together a no contact policy with her mom.
Yeah.
Like he knew her mom was destructive, but for whatever reason, he was just like, I guess it's okay.
The composer, Colin Stetson, found inspiration for the score through the sounds of water and animals while walking around in pitch black night.
Mm-hmm.
He sounds fun. To crawl inside the skin of Peter. Oh, we did that one. He was asking everyone
did you
to
guys
call him
watch any
Peter
of the
on the set.
cutscenes?
No.
In your internet research?
I did not. The movie's over 2 hours.
That's a cutoff.
Yeah. I don't need deleted scenes if your
There's some
movie's
good
over
ones.
2 hours.
There's one of Peter goes up to the treehouse after Charlie's death to sleep where she used to sleep.
Yeah.
And he lies down and starts to fall off and he looks over and his mom's already there sleeping.
Oh.
And it really freaks him out. And it starts his kind of being really timid about her. And you're making that face on your fucking face on your face.
Yeah.
That's good. And you also would imagine Peter would be pretty timid because his mom almost lit him on fire.
It's not what you want.
Bang!
Here comes the telephone pole! Got it! And Rebecca, that head's rolling around the highway. Apex Mountain.
Did you want to weigh in on that final call?
What?
In regulation last night?
Oh, he had,
what was the final
he
call?
had a financial interest in that.
Yeah, but just the Liberty. I mean,
it was an absolute Vince McMahon, David Stern called in.
It really was it
by the
not?
league.
Yeah.
They were just... Collier had 23 shots at 0 free throws and got hacked on the final shot. It was outrageous. Apex Mountain. A24?
I would say probably Everything Everywhere.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed.
Toni Collette?
Yeah, I think that would probably be...
Oh.
I would say yes.
I don't think I looked enough at her career. I mean, it's definitely up there. Is this the part that she will be remembered for?
I would say Little Miss Sunshine only because it felt like that opened
I think
the door
for
for a bunch of stuff for her.
I think Little Miss Sunshine is a movie personally that I feel like has gotten kind of like lost to time a little bit. And I think
I was just talking
Hereditary-
about what that did for her.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I thought that was a really important movie for all the people in that.
Carell,
Paul Dano.
She's been a
But
part of
maybe it's this.
some
I don't
big
know.
movies. I mean, you know, she was a big part of Knives Out too. You know, like there's
It's
some,
tough.
Oh yeah, I forgot that.
She's been pretty steady here for 25 years.
She's
at this
always
point.
good.
Yeah, 30 years.
Apex Mountain for nut allergies.
Oh, shit.
I'm not prepared for that one.
It's just like they're so conscientious about Charlie's nut allergy until
How
they're
did the
like,
ca-
why
how
don't you
did-
go to a party with your brother?
How did Culkin die in
Bees.
My Girl?
Bees,
Oh, Bees.
yeah. That's a very
That'd be a
painful
good
death.
list. Apex Mountain for child
Allergic
movie
reactions?
deaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, this is definitely the height of child movie death, except maybe
Yeah.
the kid in Jaws.
Do you want to do that? Let's do that unanswerable question right now, if you don't mind. That allergy attack, that's payment, right? That's not an allergy attack. That's payment saying.
No, but they
it's
say
time.
later, the parent says, when the mom is making him feel bad, she says, you knew.
And isn't he
She was
like, you
allergic.
sent her with me? Like, what? Right?
Yeah, when they're doing the shitting
fight.
on each other. Yeah.
But isn't Payman compelling her to go have the cake because he wants out?
See,
Like,
this is what I
it's
mean with my
time.
hottest take.
Yeah, I mean,
Once
also
you
it's
move
like,
into hell, you can make up, yeah, he's responsible for
it's
the
the
peanut
same thing
allergy.
with like, did the cult put the deer there?
Yes, great point. Because the cult obviously knew the telephone pole's significance because it has the
Now that's-
impression.
That is like a real, like a bunch of things have to happen the right way, but
No.
then you get into fate, you know?
You know, Satan moves in mysterious ways.
That's right.
That's how you end up with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback.
I really feel like he's Payman. I feel like he
Payman
is the
Rodgers.
final stage, like the ultimate manifestation of this curse. We need to break it.
If Aaron Rodgers showed up tomorrow with like nose padding on,
Mhm.
would you be surprised?
Does it end ultimately in him get decapitated on television by TJ Watt?
Mate, with your offensive line, it might happen.
The only other piece of internet research I had was that, we already moved on to Apex Mountain. Never
But
mind.
give it to us anyway.
Oh, one of Peter's friends is in the fucking cult. One of the guys he's smoking weed with under the bleachers winds up being in the cult.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think
Like
I
we
clocked
see him
that.
later?
Yeah, it's just like the idea that they're like, everything that they do is basically like the cult has their fingerprints on it.
Mm.
Huh. Beheading scenes.
I had that decapitations. I think it is Apex Mountain.
What else is in the running?
There's a really great one in Akira Kurosawa's Ron.
That is a good one.
How about Black Rain with Andy Garcia?
There you go.
I would say this one. This one has 3.
The telephone pole is the best one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. The piano wire is gnarly. Also, I love that you can hear the head hitting the floor, even though the camera's on
it's
Peter.
good.
I
It's
like
sneaky. Alex Wolff, yes. Gabriel Byrne,
No.
Usual Suspects.
that. Miller's Crossing.
Well, but
Somewhere in
Apex
the
is-
90s.
Is it,
Yeah.
yeah. Dating
You-
Ellen Barkin.
Evil Treehouses. That's about as bad as it goes for a
I'm trying to
treehouse.
think of another evil treehouse.
There's an evil treehouse in Beetlejuice in
The
movie
Good
theaters
Son.
right now.
yeah.
Good Son's a good one.
Discovering your dad's charred body and then deciding to make coffee first before you call the police.
It's Apex Mountain for that.
for me. Seances, no. Beheading yourself with piano wire, definitely. Utah?
Uh,
Probably
Like-
the Jazz making the
Is it
finals.
set in Utah?
it's never.
not
It's
explained.
never explained. Yeah.
This is going to be good. Cruz or Hanks? So remember, we can have either of these guys at any points of their career for this.
I have Hanks as Steve.
I think it's Hanks to Steve too. I agree.
Can I give you young, early 80s Cruz?
As
All
Peter?
right moves,
All right
Cruz
moves, yeah.
as Peter?
Yes, you can do that.
I think that's the answer. Craig, you be tiebreaker. You can get an early 80s.
It's
Tom
a tiebreaker
Cruise
if we both
as
said Hanks.
Payne and Peter.
3 of us here.
I think Hanks. I think it's Hanks.
All right.
All right,
Hanks.
sorry, Bill.
No, listen, I want Hanks to win every time.
Is you're so competitive. Is there
I just want it for Hanks. I think he needs it.
Yeah.
Can you move the scale like sliding on the timeline? Like
For what?
Like can you go young Cruz and young
That's what he's
Hanks?
doing.
Yeah,
he's
we've
saying,
all the
he's
time?
saying
I
like
know that.
outsiders cruise.
But I'm
would
saying
be
like
Peter.
is that part of the question every time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because sometimes there's not a part for those guys, so you have to get a little more creative.
Right.
Racehorse, rock band, wrestler, fantasy team name. I'll give you Hereditary, just as a horse. King Payman, or 8 Kings of Hell as a fantasy team name.
What if you just named your racehorse Payman?
I think
you'd be hard pressed to not bet on that
Peter
guy.
Payman would be a pretty good horse name.
Or
Peter
band name.
Payman.
Peter Payman.
Is Payman an actual like satanic name, or did they make it up?
No,
for
it's
the movie?
real.
It's
I mean,
real,
It's
you don't
real in
wanna
so
do
much
that
as like
Yeah, I'm
they're
not doing
like
that.
a bunch of occult.
I like Hereditary as a horse name. Okay, pick and nits. I have a bunch of them, but why don't you guys go and then I'll wait.
Does Pete smoke too much weed? Like it seems like they would be on top of that a little bit, maybe. I know legalization has swept the country, but he's smoking a lot of bowls, and I think it's affecting his judgment.
Well, his
He's smoking in his room, so they must know. So they would
sister
be like,
did get beheaded on his watch.
Are you shaming him for smoking weed?
I just think that if it's like almost weirdly like this thing he does that keeps him in a haze. You wonder if Payman is sort of affecting him in that way. I couldn't tell if he's like the school dealer because his friends all seem to want to hang out with him to smoke a bowl.
That's a good point.
CR's like, back in my day, we binge drank. And then it was like, who's sober enough to drive us home? And we throw the keys to Kenny.
That's right. Who's the Mark Sanchez of my group?
Does Annie just forget that Joni is close friends with her mom?
No, she doesn't know.
But how does she not know?
I feel like I had that as a picking
Her
nit.
mother-
I know her mother's secretive.
Her mom's there. They're in the same thing. She's going to run into that lady at some point. Be like, oh, that's Joan. That's
She's like
mom's
in
friend.
the neighborhood.
I mean, I think that the idea is that Annie and her mother have a pretty fractious relationship and that she may not be like all over her, you know?
Okay. Here's my biggest nitpick. How did Annie even get married? What a fucking nightmare she is. Can you imagine being like, yeah, Gabriel Byrne's like, yeah, I met somebody. Who is it? Well, she's a little bit of a handful. Mom's definitely a little nuts. And she makes model houses and has meltdowns, and everyone in her family died of something
I think
terrible.
she does quite well for herself, though, right? The model houses,
I mean,
the Archer Gallery is all over her.
The implication is the sex had to be just incredible. He's like, I'm going to
Holy
overlook
shit, Bill.
all of the family deaths
I mean,
and your crazy
yeah.
mom because holy shit, you rocked my world last night. Annie, I'm
That's the
coming back for more.
implication.
Oh my God, dude.
The implication is that Annie and Steve are fuck bunnies. Like they are just so into it with each other that he, as a therapist, is willing to overlook her clear relationship to
Crippling
demonic possession.
depression.
Yes. Sometimes the sex can be that good.
Really good take.
Okay. Is that
Yeah.
your Coach Finstock life lesson?
Well,
If the sex is good enough, you will allow the 8th king of hell to enter your
Yeah.
life.
Steve's overlooking a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Is
Like including her mother sobbing when it's not a
Well,
son.
apparently also the mother possibly breastfeeding the daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but is
Steve's like, wow, that's weird. All right, I'm going to go to work.
Yeah.
I should be home by 5:30.
He's like, I'm going to go watch the Jazz. Jazz Nuggets. Local rivalry kind of.
It's Karolinko night. They're
Yeah.
doing bobbleheads.
Battle in Mountain Time Zone.
is the implication that Annie's mom has already accumulated some wealth because she has devoted herself to Payman? Like
Yeah.
that she gets to be this art that, you know, Annie gets to be this artist
family
because
money?
she comes from family
No,
money.
I think-
Seance cover charges.
I think that the idea is the reason they need Payman to come through is to get stock tips.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's good.
Yeah.
He's like the Jordan Belfort
Especially they
of
knew this-
demons. Yeah.
sports gambling craze is coming.
Yeah,
Payman
he's
can
got-
help with
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
Payman Super Boost
Yeah.
page.
It's like
Yeah.
Dodgers, Yankees.
Yeah.
Lock it down.
It's like you got to parlay
24.
the Jets. with the
Ionescu's
Mets.
going to go 1
Yeah.
for 19. Take it to the bank.
Why would Annie want Peter to take Charlie to a high school hangout picnic when the kid's like 13?
Well,
Like that's the evil spirit intervenes on that one?
sometimes you want your kids out of your house, right?
Yeah.
I guess, but go play in the treehouse.
Well, she doesn't want her.
Maybe,
Well,
the,
that's not a
cult,
good
maybe the
place to
naked
go.
cult people are up there.
Yeah. That scene is, it gets into like whether or not, like how much culpability Annie has with that and like whether she was like kind of just like, get this kid out of here.
I have two big ones. Why didn't Peter lock his bedroom door at night with fucking multiple locks?
I don't think it works.
After the paint thinner thing, I'm like, Mom, no offense, but I went to the Home Depot.
That's another thing is that Steve seems to
and I put 3 locks on my door. And when I go to bed at night, all of those doors all of them's gonna be locked. So I'll just see you in the morning. Done.
That would be a great Home Depot ad campaign.
The Home Depot. Don't end up like Peter.
For
Protect
keeping
yourself
payment
from
out.
demons.
Yeah, that's a good stuff.
The Home Depot.
They're a sponsor today, actually.
I know. I love the Home Depot.
Thank you for keeping the demons out of our homes.
Yeah.
This is my big one, though. And this is a passion point of my wife with this movie. Why didn't Peter get arrested? At least bring him in for questioning.
Well, there's only one mention of the cops when Steve's like, we got to call the police. And she's like, the police can't help us. But are we to take it that there was no investigation into the car accident?
Like, was he drinking?
He was definitely inebriated.
Yeah. They're definitely bringing him in.
Yeah.
And
he's like back at school.
And it's like,
after.
Hey, Annie, this is Charlie's teacher. Charlie hasn't been in for the last few days. Well, Charlie got decapitated 4 nights ago, so she's not coming in. Not telling the police about that? Nothing? This just comes and goes. Decapitated little girl, like no newspaper coverage.
You've done a really good job of
Salt Lake Tribune not on this.
Yeah, I was
bringing
wondering how we were going to
teenager
talk about
father
this.
energy to this pod.
The girl's head got chopped off.
Yeah. It's tough.
What would that do to her Find My iPhone thing? You know, it's like,
Really good point. Probably still in her pocket, right?
Here comes the telephone. Got it.
That's a good one.
Oh my God.
Sequel, prequel, prestige TV, all black cast, or untouchable. I think there's a prestige TV case for this. And we've kind of seen versions of it on Netflix, like sanitized, scary. What's that guy's name? Mike
Flanagan.
Mike Flanagan.
Sanitized scary? Is that a 7th category?
Well, it's just when you're dragging it out, so you get like 8, 9, 10 episodes. Slow scary.
Yeah.
Slow burn scary.
I did find myself having the lizard brain reaction after watching it last night of just like, I would watch The Reign of Payman. Like, I would watch the next movie about what happens to Payman inside of Peter's body.
The hard part about it is it's like, who's even against Payman? Because they've cut out all everybody in that family is dead except for
It's just Joe Douglas and Woody Johnson.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's like, does Payman go back to school the next day? Does Payman show up like Teen Wolf?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm pleased to introduce our new general manager, Payman.
I think Payman had to take a few days off after repeatedly slamming his head against the school desk.
Yeah.
But does he show up? Does he wear the crown to school? Hey,
oh,
Pete.
he's just like owning it? It's like Teen Wolf.
Do you think Steve and
Selling
Annie
jerseys?
ever got it on while Payman was inside of Annie?
Oh.
Like, was there any like
no,
demon
Payman's only
sex?
in there for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And it's after Steve gets burned alive.
It's only a few minutes?
Yeah.
I thought the implication is that he's like, because you see the light throughout this movie, the light kind of
The blue
flickering
orb,
around.
Yeah.
And
the blue light.
he's kind of like jumping in and out of people at times.
Oh, I didn't notice that this time.
And like, what if Payman was like, I gotta get this out of my system.
Yeah.
And Steve looks
Horny
tasty tonight.
Payman.
Yeah, horny Payman. Yeah.
Is this movie better with Wayne Jenkins, Danny Trejo, Sam Jackson, J.T. Walsh, Byron Mayo, Harley Mays, Evil Laughing Ramon Raymond, or Philip Baker Hall? I think there's a Sam Jackson case for like being the teacher.
Yeah.
Just
Heracles, motherfucker! Fate!
Talking about fate. Just to mix him into this for no reason. at all.
Payman, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Yeah. There were 7 other kings, motherfucker! It would also be good if Harlan Mays was one of Peter's friends. And Peter's like, dude, last night I decapitated my sister. And he was just like, open up for the banana boat, big dog. Banana boat's coming.
Your sister's head's covered in ants. Banana boat time.
Oh, boy.
Just one Oscar.
What's the cigarette? Is the cigarette? That's the cigarette dipped in cocaine. That's the banana boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he only smokes bowls, but still.
Just one Oscar who gets it. Collette, right?
Toni, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Probably unanswerable questions. Do you get what you deserve if you do a seance? I think is an unanswerable question that deserves to be mentioned. I have a lot of questions about the 8 Kings of Hell.
Me too.
Do they divide territory and conquer? Do they work together? Are there little factions within the 8 Kings? Why do we need 8?
Do you think like the other 7 were like, I don't want to live in Utah?
Yeah, give that to Bob.
Yeah. Give it to
But
Payman.
no, he's got that whole side of the country, whole West Coast.
These are good questions. I don't have the answers. You're well studied on Satanism.
I think that
What does that mean?
I've watched a lot of movies about it. I do wonder about what the seven other kings are up to. And also, like, on the org chart, where's Payman? You know, like, how many
interesting question.
rungs of management below Satan is he?
Yeah. Is he more of a head of content or more of an editorial director?
That's right,
you
yeah.
know?
Is he a director of player personnel? Is he a GM?
Yeah.
Is he an executive
Is
vice
Payman
president?
a CA or a clutch guy?
Owner's son?
More of an editor at large, you know, like he just kind of
Right.
roams.
That's
Demon-
all I had for
demon
an
at
answer.
large.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
hit everything else. Anything?
Yeah, I was just also like, at the end of the movie when Joni is kind of like, bring us good fortune and good familiars. I'm just curious what Payman's, like, what does Payman do the next day? I guess this
That's
is more
what
of
I'm
an
saying.
Andy
I want to
Arrett.
see the reign of Payman.
Yeah.
I want to see like how he enacts his power when he's in Peter's body.
Do you think Ari Aster thought about a possible like cult sex scene and cut it out because it was too much of
For
a
sure.
right turn?
If you've seen Midsummer, you know that
It feels like
interests him.
that's where he got it out.
Yeah.
Best double feature choice: The Ice Storm.
I had Exorcist 3, just to shout Exorcist
Oh.
3 out. And it's a really good possession movie. Yeah.
Well, Craig did note that I had the ultimate double feature with the Jets game last night.
Yeah.
That there could not be
real life.
two more demonic possessions more powerful. But I think the reason that I think this movie is funny is I think it's really, even though he doesn't cite it, I think it's really, really connected to Rosemary's Baby, which is like a harrowing and scary movie, but also kind of hilarious. And especially the final scene of Rosemary's Baby is very funny.
Yeah.
And I think he's trying to operate in a similar register. So I would pick that movie.
He's got his father's eyes. Bang!
Andy Redson Watney Award. What happened the next day? We talked about like did Payman go to school the next day? I think is it like Boy in the Plastic Bubble?
I
like,
was
he's out.
I was mostly obsessed with the idea of like what happens when like the gardener comes over. Hey,
I'm seeing multiple decapitated bodies up in the
is that like a
treehouse.
fertilizer thing?
Yeah. What piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie? I'm going with nothing, which I think is the first time I've ever answered that.
I think Peter's nose padding.
I'm
That's
good.
become like a Halloween
Oh,
costume.
the miniatures are pretty cool.
I'm good. I don't want anything from this movie. I don't want any of
Okay.
its stink on
You don't
in
want
my
the
house.
Joni's chalkboard?
Nothing.
What if you could have the telephone pole implanted in front of your home?
No.
Okay.
Nothing. Not one thing.
That would be awesome if that was the only Halloween decoration you had was the hereditary phone
Just
pole.
people posing with their head next to
Oh
it.
my God.
Coach Finstock Award. Best life lesson.
Bring it, EpiPen.
How about move out if your mom tried to kill you with paint thinner and then was like, oh, my bad. I'm out. Move it. I'm going to Uncle Bob's house or whoever. I'm out.
It sounds like the entire family was down bad. So, because Uncle Bob was dead.
I think one of the
Yeah,
lessons
true.
is
I can't go to Uncle Bob's house. He's killed himself.
it's important to build a strong community. Like I feel like the cultists did a good job. Like they actually just executed on the plan really well in
Yeah.
this movie.
And they also saw the long game.
Yeah, they were very patient. Now that is an unanswerable question we forgot to mention, which is why did they wait so long to try to make the shift from Charlie to Peter? That's unaddressed. I don't know what the answer.
Maybe
to that
they
is.
wanted Peter to hit a certain level of maturity.
This is how I feel about Drake May.
Would you breastfeed Drake May? Please
I
answer
don't want to
honestly.
rush it. Rush it, Payman or Drake May. Let's take our time.
Oh,
I know Mayo's not the long-term coach for him, but let's just try not to get him
yeah,
hurt.
you're already out.
You think you're gonna be able to get Ben Johnson in the offseason? It's gonna
Don't
be
want Ben Johnson.
it's gonna be a
don't
dem-
want to play caller.
what?
What do you want?
Mayo's not going anywhere. We get 3 years of Mayo.
Okay, seems like you're really excited about it.
It's going to be terrible. Who won the movie?
Ari Aster.
100% Ari Aster. Ari Aster,
I
because
thought you would
of,
say A24.
that would be a good answer. I think they were kind of already off and running by the time this movie came around. But if I don't know if you've even seen Beau is Afraid, but Beau is Afraid is such a crazy movie that was made because of the success of this movie. That like it is so unusual because that movie cost $35 million.
That's like a blank check movie. Yeah.
It's a crazy thing that he pulled off with that movie. And it's because this movie did so well. So I think because of that, he got to get this 3-movie run of weirdness. And now next year he's got
A Western.
Eddington. That's his next movie.
I think you guys are right. Shout out to Toni Collette, though, because I felt
She's
I
awesome.
needed this for the IMDb.
She's awesome.
Well, this is going to get dark again because we're going to ask producer Craig, who hates horror movies, what he thought of Hereditary.
I think this movie is sick and it's for sickos, and I don't think this movie should exist. And I think Ari Aster should be in jail. He shouldn't be allowed to direct any more movies.
Did you think it was funny?
No. This was the most horrifying shit I've ever seen in my life, and we shouldn't make movies like this. This is not good for
So
society.
you haven't seen Midsommar yet?
No, and I won't.
Oh, man.
Unless you make me, I won't. People shouldn't see these types of movies. That's my take.
Midsummer in the first 8 minutes is like, seriously, man, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it works. It works really well.
Midsummer's opening act might be sadder than the end of Hereditary.
Yes.
I had a feeling you were going to like it, Craig.
Wait, was this your first watch of this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like
doesn't do
watching it
horror
in the
movies.
office. Like when I came in, he was just like, I'm not really paying attention to this. I can't do it.
I've been forced to watch more horror movies because of the rewatchables than I've seen in my life. Like 10 times the amount. I've probably seen, I like movies like The Shining and Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
But as you were talking about at the start of the show, that's kind of in a different bucket.
Yeah.
This type of horror movie, I actually think should not be
You probably
made.
have a workers' comp claim at this point.
It's an HR violation.
Yeah.
Do you think a movie can be genuinely evil?
Well, I mean, we talked about that with Poltergeist, which had some weird shit happen to it. The Exorcist is probably the closest. I think that really fucked with people.
Yeah.
And even now, like, people go to the stairs and they get freaked out by it.
One
It's
of
probably the closest, right? What do you think?
Yeah, like when I think of The Exorcist, obviously there's a lot of terrifying things that happen in Reagan's room, but the things that I'm most scared of is very similar to the stuff I'm most scared of in this movie, like the spinal tap. Like when the spinal tap is happening in The Exorcist and you're just like, we don't know it's a supernatural film, really. We just think that there's something really wrong with this girl, and they show us that like the medical world can't solve it, even going to the farthest reaches of science. The same thing is true in this movie, like when she's in the therapy scene or when they're at the funeral and she's giving the eulogy.
And she's like, my mother was a cold woman or
Yeah,
whatever.
and she's like, she had secrets. It's so interesting seeing all of these new faces, and you're just like, God, this is fucking upsetting.
Yeah.
And I do think there's something in this movie that is kind of ineffably dark that sticks with you.
I would like to see a Hereditary sequel that had Payman versus Pazuzu from Exorcist.
Two of the greats.
Well, Bird Jordan, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Hereditary 8, Payman versus Pazuzu.
That would be pretty good.
I do wonder if I could condition myself how many horror films I would need to watch where I started to like them, you know?
I think you're either in or out.
you're
I don't
also
think,
watching them in not ideal circumstances.
But I'm doing that on purpose. I would never put this movie on at 10 p.m. on a Saturday
So
night.
you weren't given these movies as a kid?
No.
Because I think that's really the key.
Given by my parents?
yeah, like you have to watch like
you have
Friday
to be
the 13th
indoctrinated.
when you're-
It's kind of like how Peter's family indoctrinated him into the depths of hell.
Yeah.
If under the age of 10, you're shown something that is gateway and fucked up, you're more likely to be interested.
That's why I showed my kids Halloween before they were 6.
That was actually an act of love.
Don't you think we've gotten to the filmmaking is too authentic? It's too good now. Exorcist and Halloween, and Poltergeist, the way they're filmed, the way they look, they're palatable.
Well, you're just saying that because like that's like an earlier time, and you, but like when you're watching Hereditary, you're like, this could be my family.
yes,
right? Yeah.
And I know that in the moment when they watched Exorcist, they didn't feel like it was dated. However, I don't think we will look back on Hereditary 30 years from now and say this filmmaking style is dated. This doesn't look real.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah, because I think like my version of that, I've talked about this before, is Scream. And Jack's wearing the Scream t-shirt right now. Scream, I was 14 when it came out. And when it came out, even though that's a super self-aware and funny movie, I was scared out of my wits watching that movie. And you might have said that that movie is so different from Halloween, but just like each generation, the movies change a little bit. The energy, the tone changes, the way that it looks changes a little bit. But that's what I mean when I say, like, if you see this at a young age, the whole genre will like stick to you forever. And if you don't see them at a young age, or you're, shielded from them, it's impossible to get involved at like 25 in horror movies.
I agree with that.
I just think Hereditary will be scary 30 years from now for somebody who watches it for the first time.
Yeah.
But Halloween or The Exorcist,
You don't think
might
The
not be.
Exorcist would be scary in 30 years? I still
No,
think
I'm
it's
saying I
scary.
don't think The Exorcist is scary right now for a 25-year-old in the way that Hereditary will
Yeah,
be.
because it's like pro wrestling. It's like Jimmy Snuka jumping off the top rope seemed amazing in 1982. And now
I think we've reached a level of filmmaking where it aging worse, the curve has slowed.
We talked about this when we did the Exorcist pod of, I don't know how many years ago that was, that how dated it was, but it was still fucking scary.
Yeah,
but it was just scary in a
people were
different
lining
way.
up for The Exorcist the same. I mean, it's not that dissimilar from when we were talking about Blair Witch, where it's like there is a almost suspension of disbelief to the point of like, did this happen? And people were watching Exorcist and having their like worldview changed.
I think there's a small piece of the puzzle too, which is like you're never going to see The Exorcist for the first time on a big screen at this point. And most of these movies that we're talking about, when you see them at a young age, you're seeing them in that environment. Like you guys are having the Blair Witch conversation, and you guys both saw it probably at the same screening in the same movie theater.
It's crazy.
And that was
Sierra and I might have been in the same place like 4 times in the late 90s, early 2000s.
That's right.
It's very possible.
They could make a When Harry Met Sally about us, you know? It's like there's Bill or CR, both at the Model and all.
Just kind of someday we find each other.
And you did.
CR, great to see you. Sean, great to see you. Produced by Craig Horlbeck. As always, check us out on the Ringer Movies YouTube channel, where you can watch all of these. Scary Month concludes next week, and I don't know what we're doing. So stay tuned.